Continuing our reading on Poppy's Return by Avi, today is two short chapters, Chapter 11 and Chapter 12. Chapter 11, A Question of Bathing. A raucously laughing Junior crawled out from the bushes. "Skunk!" he cried. "You are totally ugly sick." "Did I get them both?" said a grinning Mephitis as he reappeared on the path. "You certainly did, and I thank you," cried Poppy, rather breathless as she checked herself all over from head to tail. Junior and Mephitis met mid-trail and slapped paws. "Skunk!" proclaimed Junior. "You have the stinkiest stink in the world. Ultimate wicked." "You ain't so good yourself, Mouse," returned his friend, laughing just as loudly. "That little bear almost caught me," said Poppy. "Then I thought he was going to get you." Junior's smile got bigger even as he wrinkled his nose. "What's the matter?" said Poppy. "Not a little, Mama," said Junior. "No offense, but you stink. I mean, nasty stink." He began to laugh again. Poppy, smiling weakly, sniffed. "You don't smell so good either." Mephitis, nodding, said, "Miss Poppy, I'm afraid you've turned into a skunk." "Well, I wasn't eaten," said Poppy, "thanks to you." "I guess my stink can pretty well chase anything away." "This skunk," said Junior, crawling back up to take his seat at the skunk's head, "is one smelly dude, even for a skunk. But if it was me who heard you calling, Mama, good thing I didn't stay back the way you told me to, right?" "I suppose so," Poppy felt obliged to say. "See?" proclaimed Junior, greatly enjoying himself. "A mouse has to do what a mouse has to do. And what he has to do is protect his wimpy old mama." A breathless Lily burst upon the trail. "Good gracious," she cried. "There you are. I was so worried. What in the world was all that? Oh, my heavens," she cried, slapping a paw to her nose. "What is that smell?" "It's my buddy Mephitis," said Junior. "Why, it's absolutely revolting," cried Lily. She hurried past the skunk toward Poppy, only to stop. "Poppy, I'm afraid you, too, have a very bad odor." "Don't you even want to know what happened?" said Poppy. "It's fairly obvious. This malodorous skunk sprayed you." "Actually," said Poppy, "this very brave skunk saved me from a bear." Mephitis grinned. "A bear?" cried Lily. "Here, attacking?" "I'm afraid so." "This forest is perfectly hateful," said Lily. "And even if Mephitis did save you, he might have done it with greater consideration for others. Really, Poppy," she said, "this is quite awful." "Lily, didn't you hear me? Mephitis saved my life." "As they say," said Lily, "there are worse things than death. Now, Poppy, as soon as we get to Glitter Creek, you must wash yourself off. You too, Junior, thoroughly. I mean, you must not come home smelling like that." "Yo, Mama," said Junior, "think what I could say if I came home smelling so bad." "You are all—" Poppy, unable to decide what word to use, turned about and marched down the trail thinking, "I don't know whether to laugh or cry." "I can't wait to get home," thought Lily. "The forest is dangerous," thought Junior. "She called me brave," thought Mephitis, but no one spoke a word. Chapter 12, On the Banks of Glitter Creek. Poppy in the lead kept to herself. Lily came next. Junior, riding on Mephitis' back again, was last. Though Poppy and Lily remained silent, Junior and Mephitis quickly resumed their laughter and loud chatter. Mostly they talked about bad smells they had encountered, arguing loudly about who had smelled the worst stench. Junior recalled a mess of rotting stinkweed. Mephitis had once come upon a clutch of broken bird eggs, 2 weeks old. Junior countered with a tale of a stagnant pond filled with dead fish. Mephitis topped all with a tale about a field of elk poop. Poppy tried hard not to listen to this truly revolting conversation, but once or twice she caught herself grinning. They were, she had to admit, funny in their way, even though Poppy was certain she and her best friend and cousin Basil had never ever talked about such things when they were young. It was noon when Poppy reached the edge of the forest and stood on the banks of Glitter Creek. The water was not nearly so turbulent as it had been when she crossed it the first time so long ago. Now the creek was almost languid in its movement, though here and there the water frothed and foamed. Elsewhere it twirled in gurgling whirlpools, even as the creek babbled around in between rocks and logs. Dragonflies hovered low, wings ablur, before darting off in bursts of nervous energy. In contrast, a turtle, having found a sunlit rock, sat utterly still, dreaming its torpid turtle dreams. Poppy had forgotten what it was like not to be beneath the trees of Dimwood. The bright sun dazzled her, making her a little dizzy. Overhead, the blue sky with its high-flying birds and drifting clouds was like another realm. The smells were lighter than the forest. Here the breezy air carried now this scent, now another, in a shifting kaleidoscope of gentle nose-tickling sensations. As Poppy absorbed it all, the thought came to her that the creek was like a boundary. On one side, where she stood, was the edge of Dimwood Forest. On the far other side was open land, a very different world. Poppy felt a moment of panic. The creek also marked the dividing line between her past and her present. Did she really want to return to the past? She had barely considered the notion when Lily came out of the woods. Poppy's sister, as she had done since the smelly encounter with the bears, kept her distance, going so far as to make sure she stayed upwind and being very obvious about it. "I'm so glad," she announced, "to be out of all that forest gloom and stench. Now, all we have to do is cross the creek and go through the old orchard, and we'll be at Gray House. I think that when we get across the creek and climb the bank, we'll be able to see it." Poppy, feeling quite emotional and wishing she were alone, said only, "I don't recall." Lily sniffed. "Poppy," she said, "aren't you going to bathe?" "Maybe," said Poppy. She had been intending to wash herself, but she didn't want it to appear that she was doing it at her sister's bidding. Instead, she sat by the water's edge, put her paw in the water, and dabbled about. "The water is quite warm," she said. "What do you mean, maybe you'll take a bath?" demanded Lily. "Poppy, the two of you cannot come home smelling the way you do. It would be disrespectful. Really, you smell horrible, which is something only your sister could tell you." "Lily," Poppy returned while continuing to gaze upon the flowing water, "that is something only my sister would tell me." Mephitis and Junior tumbled out of the woods. "Hey, it's a creek!" cried Junior. "Who wants to go swimming?" He did not wait for a reply, but slid off the skunk's back and plunged into the water. "Young mouse," cried Lily, "you are splashing me." Junior's response was to slap the water hard with a paw, sending a spray of water right at his aunt. She jumped away, crying, "Poppy, tell him to stop." Poppy, speaking softly and with a hint of a smile, said, "Junior, do stop." "Okay," said Junior, with an understanding grin. He began to swim about. Mephitis joined him and the two frolicked. Lily watched them a moment. Then she said, "Poppy, I've decided something." "What is that?" "I think I'll go downstream a bit, take the bridge across, and get on home first. That way I can tell them you're coming. You and Junior can take your time." "What you mean, Lily," said Poppy, "is you want to warn them about me." "Poppy," said Lily, "Papa is easily agitated." "Then go right ahead and unagitate him," said Poppy. "We'll come along soon." "Fine," said Lily, and she started off along the edge of the creek. She hadn't gone far before she stopped and looked back. Poppy, promise me you and Junior will bathe. Actually, said Poppy, I'm going to ask Mephitis to give us another dose of his stink. Poppy, you wouldn't, squealed Lily. No, said Poppy with a rueful smile, but I'd like to. Lily hesitated, as if wanting to say something before moving off. This time she did not look back. As Lily disappeared around a bend, Poppy sighed with disappointment. The truth was she was not liking her sister very much. The next moment Poppy gave herself a mental scolding. Lily is just being who she is, she felt obliged to acknowledge. You know who you and Lily remind me of? Called Junior when he saw that his aunt had left. Who? Me and my sister Columbine. That's ridiculous, said Poppy. Nope, we're just the same, insisted Junior. We don't like each other either. Well, where's she going? Lily decided to go ahead to tell them not to be too upset when they see us, or at least to act as if they aren't upset. What are they going to get upset about? Asked Junior. Oh, it's too complicated to explain, said Poppy. She sat for a moment thinking about what Junior had said, only to be suddenly doused by a spray of water. Startled, Poppy looked up. Ragweed Junior, she cried out. The next second she caught herself. I don't want to be angry. And after all, she really did need to wash. With that thought, she plunged into the creek so abruptly she took Junior by surprise and dunked him. He came up sputtering. Hey, Mama, he shouted. What are you doing? The next moment he burst out laughing, and the two fought a furious water battle. Looking on, Mephitis laughed with them, but then joined in on Poppy's side. Not fair, cried a gleeful Junior. After exhausting themselves, the trio waded out of the creek and lay down in the sun to dry. Hey, Mama, called Junior. How far do we have to go? It's pretty much what your Aunt Lily said. Cross over the creek, get through the old orchard, and Gray House will be right there. Cool. Poppy, eyes closed, lay back in the sun with her furry white belly up. Her whiskers dried quickly. The warmth filled and soothed her. She was thoroughly relaxed when she heard Mephitis whisper, Hey, Junior, your mother's pretty cool. Maybe, said Junior. But it sure was a good thing we were there for her, for that bear. She's so wimpy. I liked her better when she stunk. Yeah, muttered the skunk. Poppy, not wanting to hear any more of this conversation, sprang up. Hey, Mama, Junior called, where are you going? I think I need to be alone, she said, and walked away along the creek bank. And that's the end of chapter 12.